Do you have a Mark 1 Focus? If you do, you probably know what this is. And if you don't know what this is, you will soon enough, because they all break. In this video, I'm going to show you how to replace this plastic coolant pipe on the Mark 1 Focus. Let's go. Hello everybody, welcome back to the channel, and thanks for being here. Today I'm going to replace this plastic pipe that's a crucial part of the cooling system on this Focus Mk1. For whatever reason, Ford decided that the best material to make this crucial pipe out of is plastic. So after 20 years, sure enough, mine started leaking. And I imagine that if mine's leaking, some of yours may be as well. So this DIY video will be about showing you the steps I took to swap this out, and I hope that it helps you out. If you're new to the channel, consider subscribing, and if you like what you see today, please click the like button. It tells me that I'm doing things right. But without further ado, this is a really simple job, so let's get to it.
Okay, the tools you're going to need are the coolant pipe, of course, and here is the product number in case you need to source this yourself. Then you're going to need some sort of catch pan. In my case, I'm using my oil pan, which I've obviously cleaned really well before I'm using it on the coolant. You'll need a funnel to put the coolant back in. Then you'll need a light just so that you can see better. You'll need one flathead screwdriver and some eye protection to protect your eyes against coolant getting in them, and then some sort of insulation, and I'll show you during the swap out on why you will need some sort of padding or insulating tape. Alright, so besides all of that, you're going to need some jack stands and a jack, or some ramps, as in my case over here on this job.
So this pipe is located in this front area of the engine bay, and let me show you why I think this is the problem. If we look down here, you can see that I've got quite a few drips and drabs happening over some of these hoses and the radiator fan as well. And if we just look around in here, you're going to see that the front section of this pipe is covered in coolant, which tells me that it's leaking. Now if we look really closely, it's actually touching the front chassis here, which I think is causing this leak. Yes, it is an old part, it's 20 years old, and this is bonded together with glue. So it could be the fact that this has just come loose over time. Heat cycles have made this weaker, so it gets hot, then it cools down, gets hot, cools down, and being plastic over time, it just wears and cracks and causes a problem. But the other thing I think that's causing this leak over here is the fact that this part is touching the body, and when the engine is on, it causes vibration, and this plastic is hitting the body, and it's not helping things. So this is obviously failing for me, so I'm going to get this changed now, and I'll see if I can dampen this somehow, so that I don't get the same problem anytime soon with the new one. Alrighty, and with that all said, it's time to get started. Oh, by the way, Andrea McShocker's Spectrum 4V, I hope that's a little better. The first thing you're going to want to do is get yourself some ramps, because we need to raise the car. We're going to go underneath and drain some of the coolant, so that when we open up the hoses, all the coolant doesn't just pour all over you and all over the floor. So we're going to raise the car, and the best way to do that is get it on ramps in this case, but a jack will do as well, of course. My car is lowered, and if you're living the lowered life like I am, your jack might not fit under your car, so ramps really help. By the way, this was a great tip by one of the guys who commented on one of my videos, so thank you. Basically put some yoga mats underneath your ramps, and that way your car won't slide when it jumps onto the ramps. Great tip. Oh yes, I've got ramps upon ramps to make sure that my 20-year-old front skirt doesn't get torn off. It's the price you pay for doing stuff like lowering your car. Anyway, I'm not complaining. It looks better, right? Definitely handles better, that's for sure. Just gonna line these up. There we go, I think that's good. That one too. Let's give it a crack. Whew, don't know about you, but I always find that really nerve-wracking. Okay, so once you're up on jacks or ramps, whatever you've got yourself sorted with, let me quickly show you what's going on here. So here we are underneath the radiator, and as you can see, I've got a little bit of fluid there and there as well. And if we trace it back, it's coming from there. Can you guys see that? So what's happening is that joint at the end of that plastic pipe has let go, and it's starting to drip coolant everywhere, making a mess of my radiator, etc, etc. So to replace that is not very difficult at all. We're just going to have to undo a bunch of hoses on that side and on that side as well, and then that hose can come right out. Now, to drain the coolant, this is why you raise the car. We're going to undo this over here, which will release the coolant, and just have a bucket underneath to catch it. And if your coolant is good, you can actually just put the coolant back in, because, well, I recently did a video about swapping out all my hoses, and that wasn't very long ago at all. So I will reuse this coolant, and that should be fine as long as your coolant isn't contaminated by anything with oil or dirt or whatever. This coolant can last up to 5 years, so I am going to be reusing it. Obviously, I'll be topping it up a little bit because my reservoir tank was a little bit low, but besides that, there's no need to put new coolant in my car anyway, because, you know, why? The less stuff you got to throw out, the better, and that stuff isn't very good for the environment. So if you do put new coolant in your car because yours is old, make sure you recycle the old stuff. So to undo that bottom drain, firstly just loosen up your expansion tank like so that air can get in there. And then find yourself a clean container to use. I'm using my oil catch pan, but it is super clean. There's nothing in there. It's been degreased. So I'm going to put that underneath the car, and then I'm just going to go ahead and crack this plug. Phillips head won't work. Let's try a flathead. Wow, this thing seals really well. Here it comes. Now I'm not going to take it out completely. I'm just going to let it drain like so, because what you want to do here is you don't necessarily want to completely empty the cooling system. All you really want to do is get the level low enough so that this pipework here is empty. So we're just going to watch the expansion tank, and when that is completely empty, I know that the coolant in the system is below this level. You can see that this pipe is up a little bit further, so this should be empty by the time this drains. So we're just going to watch it. As you can see, mine's nice and clear, so that's coming down. That's looking pretty good. All right, I'm just going to let this drain and come back to you. Okay, so after a few moments, I've let this coolant drain a little bit longer, and just take a look at that. Nice and clean. There's really no contaminants in here, nothing at all. So I'll definitely be reusing this. My expansion tank is empty now and has been for a couple of moments, so I'm pretty sure that this is low enough for me to undo these hoses. So what I'm going to do now is get under here and tighten this plug back up again. There we go. Just give it a quick clean up so that I can see if any more comes out. At this point, I'm just going to take my coolant and put it somewhere safe where I know that I won't accidentally knock it over. And now it's time to undo this hose, or pipe, I should say. Okay, so now that the coolant is drained and this is empty, we're ready to get started. It's going to have the new hose ready here, and really what we're going to do is undo 3 clips. 1, 2, 3. The other thing you want to do is get your speedo cable out of the way, your throttle cable, if you're dealing with a right-hand drive car as well. So I'm just gonna put that over there for now, and I'm gonna unclip this top hose here. So there is our plastic pipe. As you can see, it's just held on by 2 plastic retainer clips. So I'm gonna undo this bolt to start with. There we go, that's one. Like that. And the last one. There we go. So this one goes to the water pump, this one to the thermostat housing, this one to your heater core. So as you can see, this is quite a crucial piece of piping for your cooling system on this Focus Mk1. And here's the replacement. So yeah, it probably would have been better if this was a metal part. It would stop this cracking from occurring, but you know, you got to give it credit where it's due. This is 20 years old, so it's lasted this long, and that's okay in my book. So we're going to undo this hose. There we go. So as you can see, there's no coolant coming out because we've drained a lot of it. So I'm just going to keep that up there so it doesn't fall down. And then I'll undo these 2 hoses as well. And last but not least, the heater core. And there it is. Okay, so the hoses are removed. So really, we've just got this thing hanging here, as you can see. You can undo this with your flat blade. Just get it out of there. So that's one. And there it is. So here you go. You can see where this has been leaking. Just there. In fact, it's still wet down there. Now I always like to clean the area I'm working in. This is completely optional, of course. But yeah, I like to clean things up before I reconnect everything, just so that I can see if this leak develops again. Obviously, if I've got the old coolant lying around here, I can't tell if this thing drips and creates new coolant. So I always just like to clean things up before reassembly. And you know, I mean, pride of work, right? All right, so the new hose comes with a couple of new clips as well. And then it's a simple case of putting the new one on and pushing it back in. There, it's just that hard. So there you go. That's pretty much in. It's not going anywhere. Now, like I said, underneath here, this thing is connecting with the body. So to stop the vibrations of the engine, forcing this thing to knock around and getting another leak, before I put everything back together, what I might do is put a little bit of insulation down here to just to dampen the vibrations here. Now you can use whatever you like here, whether it's foam or a little bit of gaffer tape or whatever works. I've got this double-sided tape which I think will work quite nicely. I'm not going to put a lot on there. I'm just going to cut a small piece off like so, and then I'm going to half this, just like that, and then I'm just going to put a little bit, let's see where this sits. Okay, yeah, that's what I thought. So that sits right about there. I'm going to put a little bit of tape just there, and then I'll just check the other side. I don't think the other side knocks, but okay, the other side doesn't knock at all. I'm just going to extend this line a little bit further. There we go. Now, like I said, this is double-sided tape. I could literally peel this plastic off and this would stick to it. I don't necessarily want to do that, so I like that red plastic is on there. I'm just going to reconnect this. There we go. And that's in. I'm not sure about this. Is this meant to push in? Yeah, okay. So that's meant to push in like so. Okay. There we go. So those are in. That's feeling nice and secure. And really now all you've really got to do is reconnect these hoses. Now, to help slide these things back on and to avoid the risk of cracking some of these joints here, I'm just going to get a little bit of silicone spray and apply some silicone spray onto the inside of these hoses so they slide on nice and easily. I'm just going to put it in there and on there like so, just so this goes on nice and smooth. There we go, look at that, like butter. Like butter. This one too. A little bit more, I think. There we go. Like that. And just like that. Beautiful. Everything slid on nice and smoothly. So I'm really happy with that. This feels nice and solid. It's being supported against vibrations on this side, so hopefully it won't crack again. And really, we just got to tighten the clamps up now. So grab your trusty Phillips head, or flathead, not Phillips head. You don't need to go super tight with tightening these up. These silicone hoses are really good at creating a seal. The other thing to keep in mind is you're tightening up against plastic, so you don't want to crack anything. Just nice and snug, not too tight. Yeah, these all feel good. Excellent. All right, so that's it. We've got it back on. Next step will be to reattach this top hose. And finally, we'll get the throttle cable reattached as well. If, like me, your throttle cable runs from the firewall all the way to the front of the engine bay and then back all the way to the throttle body next to the firewall. It's really weird. I don't know why they did this. I would imagine this would just create a lot of slop in the accelerator pedal. But there you go. A lot smarter engineers than me designed that, so I'm gonna guess there's a really good reason why this throttle cable is so long. Okay, so as you can see just in there, I've got my red tape between the chassis and the plastic pipe. I'm pretty sure, in fact, I would almost bet some money on it, that the reason that these things crack in this corner is because they vibrate against the chassis just there. So hopefully this little dampening tape here will help me prolong the life of this new one. We're about to find out. Okay, at this point you're pretty much ready to put the coolant back in your car. So I've got a funnel here ready to go. Just gonna undo the cap, funnel goes in, and then grab your coolant and just pour it in nice and slow. And okay, now if you remember, when I emptied or when I opened this cooling system, the expansion tank was between the minimum and the maximum mark, and at the moment it's at the maximum mark and I've still got a little bit of coolant left to go. So what this means is that there is air trapped in the system and we're going to need to let the air out. And the way to do that is basically fire the car up. So that's what I'm going to do now. I'm going to fire this car up and I'm going to let the coolant start circulating. And when that drops, I'll go ahead and add a little bit more coolant. So here we go. Okay, I'm just going to fire this up. So pull the way up. Inside there, I'm going to give that a crack. As you can see, we've got little air bubbles coming out, circulating out of the system. So you're just going to want to let it do its thing. I've just got the cap on here loose so that the air can escape. So as you can see, it's starting to drop now. And look at that, we're right down to minimum. So at this point, we're going to add some more coolant. Okay, so that's all the coolant that I've taken out of the car, back in the car, and the level is pretty much back where I had it before I drained anything. So I'm pretty happy with that. I'm pretty sure that this coolant at the moment is free of air. There might be a few more little air pockets left in there, but nothing drastic. That's what I was waiting for. I needed that level to drop back down so I can fill the coolant back up, put the rest of the coolant back in. So now that that's done, what I'm going to do is take this off and put the cap back on and let the system pressurize. And at this point, we're pretty much done. We're just going to monitor this over the next day or two and check the coolant level. Once the car is cold again, I'll top this back up, but that's it. We're ready to drop the car off the ramps. So there you go guys, that's how easy it is to change the coolant pipe on a Mk1 Focus. I hope that this was helpful for you. This was the steps I took to get the pipe changed. And as you can see, there's really not much to it. You're gonna need some very basic tools and it'll get you back on the road really quickly by doing this job. So I hope you liked this video, and if you did, please click the like button. And if you're new here, thanks for watching all the way through, and please subscribe if you want to see more DIY projects that you too can do at home in your garage. That's what this channel is all about. Anyway, thank you very much for supporting the channel, and these were the steps needed to change the coolant pipe on your Mk1 Focus. But enough chit chat, go ahead and try this at home on your car.